Hey everyone, it's Rose and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to be filming today's video and I feel like it's really on theme for October. Halloween vibes. Of course, who else would I be reading other than Stephen King? So a couple days ago I finished Firestarter by Stephen King and I loved it. I rated it 4 stars and it's got me in the mood to binge some of his books. So in today's video I'm going to be trying to read 5 Stephen King books in 5 days. Obviously, I'm not going to be rereading some of his longer books because he has multiple books over 1,000 pages and I just can't do that in a day. So we are going to be reading some of his shorter books and who knows if this is even going to be successful or not. But I put it on my October TBR. I'm too scared to read that book in October, so we're going to compensate by reading a bunch of other Stephen King books, so hopefully it's not too much of a fail on my October TBR. So these are some of the books I am most likely to get to in this video. We have Eyes of the Dragon by Stephen King, which is a new one I just picked up secondhand. It's a very cool cover and it's quite short. We have Cujo, which I have on audiobook, so I'm probably going to listen to it one of these days. I'm very excited for it, and again, it's relatively short. I think it's 420 pages. And then we have Pet Sematary, which is a bit of a longer one. I think it's about 500 pages, but I've heard it's his scariest in his own opinion. So I feel like that's going to mean it's really good and it'll probably be something I'm going to want to binge. Then lastly, I have a collection of 4 of his novels he wrote as Richard Bachman. If you don't know, Stephen King wrote some books under a pseudonym name as Richard Bachman, and I have 4 of them in here. I read the first one before, so I'm not going to be reading that one, but in here we have The Long Walk, Roadwork, and what's the last one called? The Running Man. So I think for today's book, I'm going to read The Long Walk. I'm about 60 pages into it. I've been reading it today and I'm going to try and finish it this evening. If you couldn't tell by the lighting, it is the evening. I'm going to try and finish The Long Walk. I am quite scared and quite disgusted already, which is always great for a Stephen King book. So I am going to get reading and try and finish it before I go to sleep tonight, and I'll let you know the ratings. I think I'm going to leave the ratings for the end of the video so that I have enough time to make sure I'm right with my ratings and not just going based purely on like the fear at the end of the book, because I have done that with Stephen King books before. Okay, this intro is already way too long, so I'm going to get reading and I will talk to you when I finished The Long Walk by Richard Bachman, but technically Stephen King. So last night I'm about 40% through The Long Walk. It is gruesome so far. I think the amount of people who have had their 3 warnings, won't tell you what happens to them, but it's like 28 now. And it just it's so gruesome. But I am really enjoying it. Obviously, I started this challenge last night, so I haven't read my full book yet for yesterday, so the aim is we finish The Long Walk and finish another book today. But I have been listening to Cujo as well, kind of switching between the two, because the stories are so different that even though they're both written by Stephen King, I'm not getting confused at all because they are completely different books. And I'm about halfway through this one. And this one is really good too. It's more of a slow burn horror. So like nothing gruesome happened straight away, whereas in The Long Walk it's been happening all throughout, and with this one I think at the 40% mark it started happening. So it's technically day 2 of this challenge. The aim is to finish Cujo and finish The Long Walk, which I think is very doable because I'm in the mood for Stephen King, but specifically these 2 books because I'm reading them and loving them. So when I have things to do today, I'm going to listen to the audiobook, and right now I have nothing to do for a little bit, so I'm just gonna sit and read a bit more of The Long Walk. Finished Cujo. That was horrifying. If you somehow don't know what Cujo is about, I feel like if you don't know about the book, you've probably seen or heard about the film. It's basically about a dog that gets rabies and becomes murderous. I can't say any more, otherwise it's spoilers. This was really good. Really creepy, and I, as an animal lover, felt very sad at a lot of points. I'm trying not to spoil anything, so that's why I'm being very vague, but finished it. I am going to finish The Long Walk now, and then I will talk to you about it in the morning because I don't really want to be filming at like 3 AM because it is about midnight right now. And I still have, I think, 100 pages, so it won't take me too long, but it's really good anyway, so I'm more than happy to stay up to finish it. So, I finished The Long Walk last night. That book is so gruesome, so messed up. My mind can't wrap my head around some of the things that happened in it. That was so gruesome. Really good though. I think there's a movie. I probably won't watch it, but it was really good. So today is day 3. And I think I'm going to kind of do the same thing I did last time, where instead of trying to finish one book today, one book tomorrow, and obviously one book for day 5, I'm going to have one book going physically and one book on audio and kind of switch between for the next couple days. So hopefully by the end of tomorrow I will have finished 2 books, because although I'm reading 2 books from the same author, Stephen King's books are all so completely different and he writes such a range of genres that I never get confused within 2 of his stories. So for my physical book, I'm going to read Roadwork, which is another one of the Bachman books. Hopefully by the end of this video I'll have finished this book. This is like a bind up. Anyway, and for my audiobook, I think I'm going to listen to Pet Sematary because I think I might be too scared to like pick this up physically. So if I listen to it, I'm forcing myself to get through it. Like I really want to enjoy it, but I am a wuss and I do tend to wimp out. So I think I'm going to listen to this one. I have some stuff to do today, so I think I'm going to start by listening to Pet Sematary, and then I'm gonna get started on road work in the evening probably. Chapter 23, which is page 155 of Pet Sematary, and I'm scared. Not necessarily because anything actually terrifying has happened. There's been a lot of creepy things, but just because of how ominous what just happened is, I'm really scared for what's about to happen in the next few chapters because I have a feeling I know. Terrified. I think I'm probably gonna carry on with this for a bit, but once it gets dark out, Pet Sematary is going away because I don't need to be freaked out in the dark or I won't sleep for the next week. So it has been a few days since I last talked to you guys. I finished Pet Sematary a few days ago. This book was so good but so terrifying. I had to take a few days break from Stephen King. So we're back today for day 4. But this book was absolutely amazing, but that ending, oh, I was so scared. I put this book facing away from me for the last few days because I don't know why I was so creeped out. But this is just solidified. If I can't read this book without being scared, I'm not reading it this month. So let's throw that out the window for my October TBR. So we've got day 4 and 5, we've got 2 more books to read. I'm not going to read road work in this video. I've seen so many people talk about how boring it is. I can't read a Stephen King book in one day if it's going to be boring. So we have 2 more options. We have The Eyes of the Dragon, which I did say in the beginning I wanted to read, but we also have The Dark Half because, so this is set in Castle Rock, which is where quite a few of Stephen King's books are set, and you kind of have to read them in an order because they do reference the other books. I've wanted to read that one, The Dark Half, for so long, but you have to read Cujo first, and I read Cujo, so now I can read The Dark Half, so I kind of want to get to that one. So I'm not sure which one I'm going to read today. The Eyes of the Dragon is a fantasy that Stephen King wrote for his daughter, but it is Stephen King, so it is going to be creepy. I'm pretty sure Randall Flagg is in this book. If you know, you know. Not going to say anymore. And this one I've heard the most amazing things about. And I think this is one about like different personalities. A pseudonym name, and then his pseudonym name comes to life. I honestly don't know, so this isn't spoilers, but I'm not sure which one I'm going to start with. I'm just going to see what I'm in the mood for. I have some stuff to do this morning. Oh my goodness, this is so cool. So if you don't know, Richard Bachman, I've probably explained this already, is Stephen King's pseudonym name that he wrote a few books for. And this book says, "I'm indebted to the late Richard Bachman for his help and inspiration. This novel could not have been written without him." And I just think that's so funny because this book is literally about a pseudonym author. So I'm gonna make a decision in a bit and I'll let you know which book I end up choosing. sun should not be this bright. What is going on? We're moving over here a bit so I can hide from the sun. So I have been reading The Eyes of the Dragon by Stephen King. I have been listening to it on Audible. It's fun. It's a classic fantasy, so if you really like things like that, you'll probably like this. I am not really a big fan of classic fantasy. For example, like, oh, the sun is just... so if you like things like Lord of the Rings, what I assume Game of Thrones is like, things like that, this is just like that. Like medieval. I'm not a big fan of that, so that's probably why this isn't one of my favourites so far. I'm on page 261. I think I've got about 160 pages left. It is... I'm liking the cameo of Flag. If you've read Stephen King books before, you'll know who that is. But I don't know, this I'm not loving it. I'm not disliking it. The chapters are really short. I'm on chapter 72 right now. The chapters are like 5 minutes long on the audiobook. There's like 150 chapters in this book. I don't think it's going to be one of my favourites of his, but it's definitely not a bad book. It's not my favourite Stephen King, but even my least favourite from Stephen King is still good in my opinion. It's like a classic medieval, there's dragons, there's a castle, the king is murdered, there are 2 sons, which one's going to be heir to the throne. But obviously there's some twists, turns, it's very gruesome, and it has a classic Stephen King villain in it. I think I'm going to go ahead and finish this now. I don't think I have anything to do with the rest of my day, so I think I'm going to go and finish this now. And I was going to say I'll let you know what I'm going to rate it, but we're keeping that to the end, so I will not be letting you know. You're going to see some more angles of my bookshelves and how unorganised they are, so maybe don't pay too much attention to that. Let's ignore the outfit. It is cold. It is autumn, but it feels like winter today. It's very cold. I don't know why, but you know. Anyway, so I finished The Eyes of the Dragon by Stephen King. Definitely not my favourite from him. It's still a good book, but classic fantasy I don't think is really my thing. While I love Stephen King, I don't love that genre, so once I figured out what this book was about, I knew it wasn't going to be a favourite of mine, but it was still fun. I like the bad guy, as I keep saying, and it was an experience. So the 5th and final book we're reading is, of course, The Dark Half. I'm so excited to read this book. Like I said, I've wanted to read it for so long, but now I've read Cujo, I can finally see what this is all about. I know from the synopsis I'm going to love it. I have the audiobook, which is about 16 hours long, and I'm just gonna get started. I'm so excited to finally read it. Have a feeling it's gonna be one of my new favourite Stephen King books, but let me get reading and we will find out if that's true. So I'm about 20% into The Dark Half and already so much has happened. It's been set up so well. The first plot twist just happened, and although I knew it was coming because it's kind of the premise of the book, so it's not really, it wasn't a plot twist because it was on the blurb, but like it was shocking to the characters. I don't know how to explain, but it was really good. It is the evening now, but like I'm just in one of those moods where I know I'm not gonna sleep anytime soon, so I'm gonna stay up and finish this book. Well, I finished The Dark Half by Stephen King. This book was terrifying, as usual. It was absolutely amazing. I loved it. It was so good. I have no thoughts at the moment because I've just finished it, but that means we've read 5 Stephen King books in this video. So I'm going to take you through the ones I read and actually give you my ratings. Now I've had some time to think about it. So first up, we read The Long Walk by Richard Bachman, who is Stephen King. And I'm going to rate that one 4.5 stars. I loved it so much. I love how well you got to know the characters because you stayed with them the whole time. Maybe this is an unpopular opinion, I'm not too sure, but I loved how the ending was open-ended, and it's kind of up to your own interpretation because I went down a Reddit rabbit hole of people explaining their theories, and I had so much fun doing that and also trying to figure out what I thought for myself. It was such a fun experience. Next up, I read Cujo by Stephen King, which I'm going to rate 4.5 stars as well. This book was absolutely terrifying. I felt so claustrophobic. I felt like I was in the car. If you know, you know. I loved this book. It was so sad. It was terrifying. That ending freaked me out so much. But I loved it. 4.5 stars, a new favourite from Stephen King. Next up, we have Pet Sematary, which I rated 5 stars. This book was so scary. That is exactly what I want. This is exactly the kind of book I want when I pick up a Stephen King novel. Oh my god, all the characters, the ending. I had a feeling, like those last few lines, I had a feeling that was how it was gonna end, but it chilled me to my core reading this book. It was so creepy, I was so freaked out, and I absolutely loved it. To make me sleep with the lights on, which is what you want from a Stephen King novel, isn't it? Next, I read The Eyes of the Dragon. I rated this one 3 stars. Not my favourite. I liked, as I've said so many times in this video, I liked the bad guy. Didn't like a lot else about it, but I did like the fact that it's King's writing, and you can tell. I'm just not a big fan of classic fantasy, and that's what this was. So 3 stars, not bad, but not my fave. And then obviously I just read The Dark Half. I'm not settled on a rating yet, but I'm thinking it's going to be 4.5 stars. I absolutely loved it. It was so creepy, so good. I just don't know if I liked it as much as Pet Sematary. I'm going to give myself a little bit of time to make sure that the 4.5 stars is like solidified, or if it's a 5 star or maybe a 4 star, I'm not too sure. But obviously you'll see that in my October wrap up because I will be talking about it. So if you do want to know what I do end up rating it, you can either follow me on Goodreads or check my October wrap up that will be posted soon. That's everything I read in this video. I had such a fun time. I was just in such a Stephen King mood, and I'm so glad I read all these books, and I'm so glad I filmed this video. I am just very freaked out, but in the best way. And that's everything for this video. If there are any more authors where you want to see me binge read some of their books, or a series you want to see me binge read, or a genre, let me know, because I am down to film any sort of content like that. I love putting challenges into video ideas because it helps me with my reading, and it helps motivate me, and it helps me have fun sort of figuring out new editing styles and stuff as well. But that's everything I have for this video. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like and subscribe because I post new videos every single Monday. Hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you in another video. Bye!